Hi guys, Thogrey here with a new video, and this video is my 3v3 tier list video for healers season 4 PvP 9.2.7 of Shadowlands. And yeah, I think the meta has been quite alright for healers since everything is a bit shook up. You also see with representation and whatever, holy priests are not the king of kings anymore. And it feels like a bit more fun to play healers. I'd say, like, outside of the holy priest spec. So let's discuss about the tier list right away. S tier is God tier, A tier is meta, B tier is average, C tier is underplayed, underused, underutilized, underappreciated. I would say just underpowered, and D tier is garbage. It means that really needs a lot of help to go back to the average tier. But I would say that no healers deserve D tier at the moment. I would say even in 3v3, I feel like C tier is a bit too harsh. But there is definitely a bit of differences between healers. So, Disc Priest. I feel like in 3v3, with the rise of Affliction Warlocks and other comps that are actually countering Affliction Warlocks, I feel like Disc Priest has a meta, placing the meta for those kinds of comps. Of course, it is not easy to play since, of course, the healing throughput is not fantastic. You will still get tunneled down if you're not careful enough, and you will still have to preemptively actually use those CDs to survive. But I think if you're playing a Disc Priest, you will have a lot of fun in trees. You will do quite alright damage. You will have a lot of CDs that are actually usable and I would say a difference maker. I don't think it's God tier, although now it's really played a lot because I feel like a lot of people like Disc Priest. But it is not a holy priest from season 3, but it is most definitely a lot better than previous seasons because of the meta switches. So for me, it is a meta healer. Holy Paladin. So now with the meta switch, the problem is with Holy Paladins, they have no defenses versus magic users. So it means like a Warlock or Elemental Shaman or even a Demonology Warlock, everything that are actually casters that are doing magic damage, you're not going to have a great time. Your only good thing about Holy Paladin is your healing throughput, because whenever you are actually having some Vengeance Hammer stacks where you can actually do some good AoE healing, it feels alright. But how further you go in the game, how difficult it becomes to actually keep those stacks up. And actually using a Bob doesn't do anything to casters. And as the rise of Affliction Warlock becomes prevalent, I feel like you will probably have difficulties versus those classes. Your only saving grace is pretty much playing with an ultimate sacrifice and probably bubbling, since you will probably die if you're not doing that. But after that, you're pretty much like naked versus them. That's why in trees you are not as good as before. You are good versus melee creeps because again your buff does a lot of things for you versus those comps. But now with the rise of Affliction Warlocks, I feel like you deserve a B tier just because the metas has switched. Although you don't really have any nerfs coming your way, you could be S tier if Affliction Warlocks disappears and Elemental Shaman disappears. But for now, it is B tier because they still exist. And whenever you're playing versus Elemental Shaman and an Affliction Warlock in an LSD comp, for example, you're not going to survive damage. You will either die as a healer or your teammates will die because you don't have enough defensives for them. But your AoE healing throughput is good, so it's a bit controversial since you should be good versus Affliction Warlocks, and you will probably be good in versus Affliction Warlocks come Dragonflight because they will have Blessing of Spell Ward, so it's quite nice. But in Shadowlands, you don't have that, so for me, you deserve the B tier. It could be C tier, but B tier I feel like it's deserved because versus melees you are quite good. Versus RMP you're not as good because a shadowy duel can still finish your life if you're bubbling too soon. But that's why B tier deserves the Holy Paladin deserves the B spot. Holy Priest. So Holy Priest has been nerfed quite a bit. Still very much nerfed. I feel like they are not like the go-to healer anymore for a lot of comps. Now you can really go for Disc Priest or Resto Druid or Resto Shaman, for example, or melee cleaves, and Mistweavers prefer to play with casters, and those casters will prefer to play with a Mistweaver, for example. But your kit is still there, so you still have a lot of CC, you still have a lot of healing throughput whenever you're putting like the CDs up, so you're using your CDs, and you can still like, but the problem is right now is your healing throughput is good whenever you're blowing mana, and the problem is whenever you're blowing mana you cannot play Kyrian or you cannot play Venthyr because your mana will be depleted, so you will pretty much only play Night Fae. You can still play Kyrian, that one shot combo is still valid, I would say, but you will end games with like dampening games with no mana, and whenever you have no mana there's no saving grace. The good thing is about 3v3 is that you will probably not get focused, but if you do, you can still play the res Lego and you can pretty much win games because of it if they are focusing you. But they don't deserve the S tier anymore in my eyes. I think they are even behind Disc Priest because of the meta switches. As a Holy Priest, you are not good versus Affliction Warlocks. Why? Because they do cleave damage, and cleave damage is actually the one thing that Holy Priests can't deal with. They don't have a lot of great AoE healing. AoE, Disc Priests, Holy Paladins, even Resto Shamans, even Resto Druids just do better. Only Mistweavers and Holy Priests has difficulties for AoE healing. And that's why for the current meta, I feel like Holy Priests are not as good. But of course, like let's talk about Mistweavers. They have a great strength, which means they can actually dispel shit whenever it goes south. And you will not get damaged, you will not get silenced, because Revival is a great CD to use versus Affliction Warlocks and versus Elemental Shamans. But you will need to play with casters, you cannot play with melees. If you do play with melees, you will probably get drained at one point of the match whenever you're using your cocoon. They will switch on you and you will get kicked on everything. So if you're not playing the anti-silence, anti-interrupt, Zen Focus T, you're not going to survive damage because they will just silence you, interrupt you, be a poison to your team and to yourself. So for me, just because of that aspect, I cannot put it any higher than B tier. I feel like if you're playing with casters, you really can be A or S tier because you are one of those best passive healers that you can have in the game. And whenever you have two casters in the game, you don't need to play offensively. Your casters can do enough CC, enough damage to actually overtake the game. And you as a healer, you can step back and just throw heals as much as you can. Throw a leg sweep whenever you can. TP back to be safe and heal back up. But if you play with a melee, I guess it becomes very hard. So for me, that's why it's a B tier. I think it's ahead of Holy Paladins because of those Affliction Warlocks. But whenever you don't play versus an Affliction Warlock, I feel like it's a bit painful to play Mistweavers these days. Now let's talk about the S tier Resto Druid, and for me it is deserved. I feel like the mobility that you have as a Resto Druid, the slipperiness that you can have as a Resto Druid, the survivability that you can have as a Resto Druid makes it very annoying to kill. Also very annoying to actually deal with because they can safely drink whenever it's a dampening game. They can also do a lot of great CC whenever they are able to do that. But if you're playing LSD, for example, you don't need to put yourself in harm's way. You can just heal, and your warlock and your shaman will do the trick to do actually hexes, fears, and whatever. But as a druid on that comp, you don't need to be proactive. If you're playing with melees, for example, like a TSG, or you're playing like a Red War, you can be a bit more aggressive because the comp gives you the possibility to play aggressive. And that's why as a S tier class, you need that versatility. I feel like druids are very good at this very moment. Do they like damage? They do like damage. Do they like the instant healing throughput that a holy priest has? They kind of do. Do they have OP AoE healing like a holy paladin or holy disc priest? No, they don't have that. but they are very good in everything. They can multi heal, they can do some good single target heal, it has a lot of CC, they can do also a lot of great plays because of Cyclone, because of Bash, because of Vortex. You have a lot of great things as a Resto Druid, and that's why they deserve the S tier spot. Also, they cannot really get focused most of the time because they are very slippery, and whenever you're slippery, yeah, your teammates can really do a lot of damage because they are unfocused, and then they can just throw back whatever was sent your way. So now let's talk about Resto Shaman. I think I'm going to be very controversial, but I think like Resto Shamans are very good at these days. I think they are very, very close to Disc Priest. I think they are in between Disc Priest and Holy Priest in this current meta. Because again, you will see a lot of casters in trees these days, and Resto Shamans are one of the best healers versus casters because they have an interrupt, they have grounding totem, they have possibilities to play with a melee, so you can actually dish a lot of damage with your Earth legendary, if Earth elemental legendary if you're playing with it, or you can play a bit more passive if you play the Earth shield legendary, for example. And your purges are very, very good. Your damage with lava burst is actually quite nice. So you have a lot of good things going on for Resto Shaman, but also the unnerved states of the 4 set makes it also very enjoyable to heal in AoE. So of course, throughput wise, they're still meh. They're very meh, but they have a lot of utility. And in versus warlocks, you don't really need a lot of healing throughput. You need utility and stoppage power to actually stop them from doing damage. And mostly interrupts will still probably heal more than, for example, healing through a drain life. If the drain life is not interrupted, you will probably die. If you do interrupt it, I think the preventing the damage is as much worth as the healing that you could do while they are doing damage. So that's why I'm putting it at A tier. So you also remarked that in this current season, I didn't put any healer at C tier or D tier because I feel they don't deserve to get C or D tier at this moment. All the healers are very close to each other. I would say a lot of healers are situational. For example, Holy Paladins are very good into melee cleaves, and that by itself could put it in S tier whenever you're facing a melee cleave. But Mistweaver is, for example, very good whenever they're playing with casters, for example, and they're playing versus casters, because again, you can dispel a lot of great things. Yeah, dispel from your teammates, of course. Holy Priest by itself, they can be very good versus comps that are actually trying to kill the healers, and as a Holy Priest, you are one of the healers that are actually very annoying to kill and also not rewarding because they might have res lego, for example. A Resto Shaman very good versus casters, very, very good versus casters. Disc Priest very good versus casters again because they have a lot of AoE healing and also a lot of throughput with damage, and also the annoying part where you have holy and shadow spells. So that's also very nice. Resto Druids, very good to be slippery and actually running away, actually healing and just kite and try to dampen the game and to do a lot of CC. So by itself, every healer is fantastic, but versus who are you going to play the most? And that is actually what is defining the healer meta. It is not the capacities of the healer, it is more the matchups that you are actually facing. If you're in EU, you will probably play a bit more RMPs, and in US, you will probably play a bit more caster cleaves, for example, and all those things that are actually very popular in US. So again, I think tier lists are very subjective. I think a lot of people would put maybe Mistweaver in D tier for some reason, but for me, they deserve the B tier, and all the healers that are actually on S, A, and B tier for me deserve those spots just because of the reasoning that you can put for every healer in every situation. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. I will catch you next time for a new video, of course. Tonight I will also stream. If you are coming to watch a stream, we will do some RPGs, and if you're a viewer and playing from EU, you can of course play with me. That would be very fun. Again, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you didn't like the video, and comment below what you think about the tier list. We will see each other very soon. Have a great day. Bye.